I have a new plugin from my friends at Waves I want to show you today. This is the Waves Curves Equator. Before we get into this, full disclosure, this is not a sponsored video, but Waves did send me this plugin over early so that I could check it out and put together some content on it. If you want to check this out, I do have affiliate links below. And honestly, whenever I'm showing a plugin, you should go and try this stuff for yourself and make up your own mind. Don't just take my word for anything, ever. Try it for yourself and see what works. But let's take a look at the Waves Curves Equator. So what is Curves Equator? This is a little hard to kind of explain, I think. So according to the user guide I have on it, it says Curves Equator automatically attenuates resonances and accurately tames built-up frequencies to provide a balanced, stable sound. Opens space in a track and provides the clarity needed for an instrument or a voice to punch through. So something that jumps out at me when I look at this, whenever someone talks about a plugin dealing with resonances or resonance suppression, a lot of times I start thinking of another plugin, in particular Oak Sound's Soothe. And while I think Curves Equator might do some similar kinds of things to Soothe, I don't think it's really fair to compare the two because they are different animals in my mind. When I go after something with Soothe, I am very targeted in terms of what I'm trying to focus on. There is a very particular area or range of things that I want to do some work in, and I'm just going to really kind of zone in on that. Curves Equator, it's not as easy to do that with. That's not really what I think this was designed for or how it's intended to be used. When I first started trying this out and I had this kind of Soothe mentality in my head, I wasn't getting happy with the results I was getting. So I had to back up and take a different look at this. And to me, when I look at Curves Equator, it feels more like the spiritual successor to the Waves C4, C6, and F6. I just feel like this is the kind of next evolution from those plugins. And if you've followed me for any number of years, you probably know that I'm a big fan of those plugins. I've done videos for Waves on those plugins. They're probably on their channel. Written articles about them and used C4 and C6 extensively, especially in all the live sound stuff that I've done. And I think I've got presets in the C4 plugin. I'd have to open it and look. I forget where all my presets are in Waves plugins. So with Curves Equator, when I start thinking about it more as kind of an advancement from those plugins, to me, it starts to make a little more sense. When I have been kind of looking at this, I sort of think of it as something that you can kind of take a broad strokes approach in terms of sort of dialing things in, but what it's actually going to do will likely be a little more finer in its resolution than necessarily the approach I'm taking. And I know that kind of maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. So let me kind of try and explain this a little better. When I look at something like C6, for example, we have these 4 bands in here, and the way each of these bands is going to work, it's based on a threshold and the activity that's happening in that band. But when it acts, it's going to act on that entire band. When I move over to Curves Equator, there are these kind of bands in a way, but the activity within each of these bands, as you're going to see, can get a lot more detailed in terms of the resolution of what it's doing. And that's why I kind of look at this as being sort of the next step from C6. So I could talk about this a lot, but let's throw this on some sounds and see what it does. I have a couple of examples here. To start with, I'm just gonna put it on a guitar. Let's delete what I had going on in here and flatten it out. So when you open the plugin, it's gonna look like this with not a lot going on. I almost always hit this advanced controls button here and start tweaking because there's almost always something I want to do. The coolest way I think to use this is to actually use this learn button, because what it will do is it's going to sort of create a curve, which is like a threshold curve, to work on your audio. And for me, where I've been having the best results, or at least the results that I like the most with this plugin, it's been when I put this at the end of my signal chain. So to me, this is like that last sort of step of polish on something. I'm going to put it at the end of my signal chain and really just kind of polish it a little bit. So like I said, I've got a guitar here. Let's play a little bit, and I'm going to hit this learn button so that we can see what it does. So it's kind of created a curve based on what's coming into the plugin to begin with. So the next thing I can do is I can just drag this threshold down, or actually this is like a big giant knob. I've actually got this set up on my control surface to take it up and down. So I'm just going to bring this down so that it's processing a bit. I can turn up the sensitivity, which, what do they say? The sensitivity, it has to do with like making it sharper and stronger in reduction. The precision knob, I think well, here, this is what sensitivity does. So turning that up gets it a little more active. The other side of it is this precision knob. So that's with both precision and sensitivity cranked. As precision goes up, the filtering seems to get a little narrower. I'll turn them back. So that's kind of the default right there. So I'm going to increase the sensitivity and precision. I'm going to tweak this a little bit. And you can control like thresholds within the bands themselves if you want. So you can adjust that kind of stuff. And that's all in the advanced controls. I'm just going to leave them at default for this. So let me play this before and after, and let's see what it's actually doing. So I feel like it kind of cleans it up a little bit more. If I put it into the mix, let's see what it does in there, if it's better or worse. So I kind of feel like it helps having that in there like that, it kind of cleans it up a little bit. So that's one use. Now, something you might have seen me do with C6 is I did a video for Waves where I show how you can kind of do the side chain, the kick drum, put it on the bass drum and side chain to the kick. Well, that's something we can do in here as well. And let me show you how that works in here. So I've got it on the bass. All right, I had already dialed this in, but let's start over here. We'll reset it. So I have the kick basically coming in to the side chain here. I'm going to turn this side chain on. I want to click the rider button because then it's going to adjust based on the levels of what's incoming. And now I just need to sort of teach it what does the kick drum sound like. So let's solo up the drums and the bass, and I'm going to hit learn and let's see what it does. So it's sort of created an inverse curve for the bass drum. So let's play with this a little bit and see how it works. Let me mess around a little bit. All right, if I bypass it, let's see, what does it do before and after? Feels better in my room, kind of subtle in a way, but the low end or just listen to how the kick drum speaks, I guess, especially with the low end, because that's where we're sort of making a hole on this. In the whole mix here, let me make sure we've got a section where we're actually gonna hear a bunch of stuff. All right, start with it in and then I'll take it out. So with this in, I just feel like the kick drum kind of speaks a little better in the mix. Might be taking a little bit more out than I want, but this kind of sidechaining thing, I kind of like this. I do wish the release would go a little faster on this for doing this kind of thing, but still pretty good results. This could be something I use a lot. All right, the last thing I'm going to show, I'm just going to put this on the whole mix. Let me go down to where that was. It's actually been running on the whole mix the whole time. So what I did with this is I went through, I played some commercial recordings into this and created a curve based on that. That's actually what we've been listening to this whole time. So I'm going to just start with this on, and then I'm going to bypass it. So to me, this cleans everything up. Everything gets a lot clearer when I turn it on. So kind of a cool thing. And, you know, you can tweak this stuff a little bit, like these threshold curves. You can add these little nodes and kind of reshape things if you want. There's like this tilt feature. There's a lot more to this. But honestly, download the demo. give it a try, see if it works for you, see if it's something that'll be useful for you. You know, there's a lot that this can do. I think I am just starting to scratch the surface in terms of what I might be able to use this for. So, you know, if this is interesting to you, pick it up, demo it yourself. I'm sure there are a whole bunch of other videos out there on this, and people probably have got some other good ideas on how to use this and try it. So get some ideas and then go try it for yourself. If you pick this up, please leave a comment below and let me know, how are you using this? How are you finding it most useful? Because I'm still looking for new ways to try this and to get the most out of it. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So Waves Curves Equator. Thanks, Waves, for letting me check this out. Definitely take a look at it. There's a link in the description that can get you to the Waves site that helps me out. I'd appreciate it if you use that. But thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.